Bismillah. Who is that?
Okay, I had the first question. Recently, Donald Trump changed the embassy to Jerusalem, which means that it's now the capital of Israel. What's your reaction on that?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. What Donald Trump did was to activate or to enter into force a decision already taken by the United States Congress many years ago, to officially recognize Jerusalem as the capital of Israel. The previous presidents were simply postponing. But Trump did what none before him did. He said, we offer now official United States recognition of Jerusalem as the capital of Israel. If Israel were to succeed in getting more countries to do what the United States has done, it would then be able to override the resolutions of the Security Council of the United Nations and of the General Assembly, and present the world with what is known as a fait accompli. We are now in charge of Jerusalem, and we have international recognition of Jerusalem as our capital. We now have legal jurisdiction over Jerusalem. This is important for Israel, because unless she achieves this, the claim to be the holy state of Israel is hollow. You can't be the holy state of Israel and you do not have legal control over Jerusalem. So this is part of the stage-by-stage process through which this Israel could eventually claim to be the holy Israel of Nabi Dawood alayhi salam and Nabi Sulaiman alayhi salam. There are other things that Israel must do in order to claim to be holy Israel. For example, the Torah says that the Holy Land extends from the river of Egypt, that is the river Nile, until the river Euphrates. So Israel will have to take control over all that territory, which is known as the Eastern Delta in Egypt. From the river Nile to the Red Sea is called the Eastern Delta. It is the most fertile part of Egypt. It's the part that produces all the food. Okay? Israel will have to take over this territory. Israel will also have to take the territory all the way until the river Euphrates. For that, Israel will have to wage a big war. Oh yes. If Israel is to claim to be the holy Israel of Nabi Dawood and Nabi Sulaiman, Israel also has to rebuild what they call the Temple of Solomon. But in the Quran, Allah does not refer to it as a temple. In the Quran, Allah speaks of لَهُدِّمَتْ صَوَامِعُ وَبِيعٌ وَصَلَوَاتٌ وَمَسَاجِدٌ. 4. Churches, temples, synagogues, and masajid. But when Allah refers to this Bayt of Allah, He refers to it as Masjid. Masjid al-Aqsa. Subhanalladhi asra bi'abdihi min al-Masjid al-Harami ila al-Masjid al-Aqsa. I think this is perhaps the only place in the whole Quran that the name Masjid al-Aqsa appears. If Israel is to claim to be the holy Israel of Nabi Dawood and Nabi Sulaiman alayhi salam, Israel will have to be using what we call dinar and dirham as money. Gold coins and silver coins. Because that's what they were using in Jerusalem, in holy Israel. And every Jew knows that the money we're now using is bogus, it's fraudulent, it's haram, it's bogus, it's fraudulent, it's haram, and I've been saying that for 20 years now. Yes. And sometimes I lose patience. You can't be too angry with me. I sometimes lose patience. I sometimes become angry that I'm talking and talking and talking for 20 years now and they're not listening to me. And I'm seeing my people growing poorer and poorer and poorer and poorer. Bangladesh becoming so miserably poor, Pakistan becoming so miserably poor, Egypt becoming so miserably poor, Algeria becoming so miserably poor, Morocco becoming so miserably poor, Indonesia becoming so miserably poor, all of Africa becoming so miserably poor. Shall I continue? It's happening before my eyes. Yes, I'm seeing it. And I know what is the cause of it. And I'm shouting from the mountaintop. But they won't listen to me. What can I do? Israel will have to restore gold and silver coins as money. And I pray to Allah, I don't want to see that day. Because the shame and the disgrace on the Ummah of Muhammad ﷺ will be too much for me. So please, please, Father, please Allah, send the angel and take me away from this world. I don't want to see that day. When Israel will start using dinar and dirham, and we're still using the bogus Pakistani rupee. Yeah. So all of these things Israel has to do. And what Trump did was one step towards that eventual capacity to claim we are the holy state of Israel. If we were to analyze the implications of what he has done, for us, not for them, then I have offered only one so far. I will have to eventually deliver a lecture in which I will have to analyze it more comprehensively. What I have done is to point out that Jerusalem is the most important city in the world for a Christian, as a Christian. Jerusalem is the most important city in the world for a Jew, as a Jew. And for a Muslim, in Akhirul Zaman, Jerusalem is the most important city in the world. As a Muslim, in Akhirul Zaman. The most important city in the world for a Muslim is Jerusalem. What then should have been done? Answer: you should have done what Nabi Muhammad ﷺ did when he went to Yathrib in the north. Now it's called Medina. He spent 7 months negotiating an agreement where all the different tribes would live and share the city on the basis of mutual peace between them each other. It was called the Mithaq of Medina. It brought into being a plural model of a state. The unit of the state was not this individual, like in Pakistan and Britain and so on, where the individual is the unit of the state. And the individual goes and votes in election. But in Medina it was not the individual who was the unit of the state. The unit of the state was the tribe. The tribe. And there was a multiplicity of tribes, some of them Jewish, some of them pagan Arabs, and some of them Muslim. And so he brought into being a plural model of a state, in which they all shared the city. And that would have been a sensible and intelligent solution to the problem of Jerusalem. That Islam, Judaism and Christianity would have shared Jerusalem in peace on the basis of political equality and religious equality, none claiming to be superior to the other, and mutual respect for each other. You cannot be attacking my religion and live together in the same home with me. So a plural model of a city-state, a plural model of a city-state in which all three, the Muslims, the Christians and the Jews, would have shared Jerusalem peacefully. And I pointed out that while the Ottoman Empire did many things that was wrong, they did this right. They held Jerusalem for a few hundred years. And for a few hundred years under Ottoman rule, the Jews, the Christians and the Muslims shared Jerusalem peacefully. This was the achievement of the Ottoman Empire. What the United States has now done is to deliver the city to one group, the Jews, and leave the Muslims out and leave the Christians out. What will be the implication? There are some Christians who object to what he did, object to Christianity being left out. As soon as Trump made this declaration, the head of the Egyptian Coptic Church cancelled an appointment with the Vice President of the United States, slapping him on his face. Yeah, that's how the Orthodox Christians feel about what Trump did. So there are some Christians who object to what Trump has did. And there are other Christians, I call them people who follow Santa Claus, and they support Trump. There are some Muslims who secretly are supporting Trump. But the overwhelming majority of Muslims around the world object to what he's done. Overwhelming majority. The governments, of course, are always playing both sides of the sun. So what Trump has done is to leave that part of the world of Christianity out, and that part of the world of Islam out in the cold. What will be the implications? Answer. The implication is that because of what you have done, it is now more likely that there will be a reconciliation between Orthodox Christians and Muslims, and there will be friendship between us and eventually an alliance, and Jerusalem will bring us together. That is my first analysis of the subject. And of course the Zionists are going to bite their fingers in frustration, because this is something they don't want at all. They do not want the world of Islam and the world of Orthodox Christianity to ever come together in friendship and alliance. Kabhi nahi. And now because of Trump, this is going to become more likely. This is my answer to you. Can I have a glass of water, please? Jazakallah, thank you. Any more questions?
Will Pakistan's existence and military and nuclear power survive?
Will Pakistan survive, and will Pakistan's nuclear deterrent power survive?
Will the military also?
A man traveled all through the day, and at the end of the day he raised his hands and he prayed to Allah, Lord, Lord, Lord. Allah said, how can I answer him when in his stomach there is haram? How can I answer him? His pocket is haram. How can I answer him? Pakistan has betrayed Allah and His Messenger from day one. Not the people of Pakistan, the rulers of Pakistan. From day one they have betrayed Allah and His Messenger. Okay? I'm going to say some things now which may hurt the feelings of some Pakistanis. But if what I say is the truth, it must be spoken without regard for consequences. Otherwise I should go and drive a taxi. When the British were leaving India, when the writing was on the wall, the Muslims had risen up and they established what is known as the Khilafat movement. What was the Urdu for it?
Khilafat movement.
In Urdu? Movement in...
Harkat or Khilafat.
Was anyone? Do anyone?
Tahreek Khilafat.
Tahreek Khilafat, Ajit. Tahreek Khilafat. It was led by men like Maulana Muhammad Ali Jawhar, his brother, his elder brother Maulana Shaukat Ali, Shuaib Quraishi, Mufti Kifayatullah, Sayyid Sulaiman Nadwi, and so on. And these were men in whom the Indian Muslims had confidence, particularly Sayyid Sulaiman Nadwi. They had confidence in them. And these men declared that when we get rid of the British, we have to bring back to India our model of a state and a political system. That model is called by the name a Khilafah state. Why? Because of the Quran. Because in the Quran Allah says, Ba'adawuzu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. He spoke to the angels and he said, Inni ja'ilun fil ardi khalifa. So here's the name, Khilafah. I'm going to place on earth one who will rule on earth, who will govern, who will establish law. Then again Allah spoke in the Quran, and now He speaks to Dawood alayhi salam. And He says, Ya Dawood, O David alayhi salam, Inna ja'alnaka khalifatan fil ard. We are appointing you as Khalifa, to one who will rule and govern on earth and establish law. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala went on to explain how you must establish government and rule. What is the state that I want you to establish? He said, فَحْكُمْ بَيْنَ النَّاسِ بِالْحَقِّ with al-haq. Al-haq doesn't come from Washington. Al-haq doesn't come from Britain. Al-haq doesn't come from modern Western civilization, and Iqbal should have known that. Sometimes I have to raise my voice because of the pain inside of me. Such a learned and distinguished and how great was he as a scholar. Well, how come you didn't know that, Iqbal? He is my teacher, and I respect him and I love him. But if you make a mistake, I have to say you made a mistake. Because regardless of consequences, Allah wants you to establish rule and governance and law on earth and a model of state that will establish rule on the basis of al-haq. And al-haq does not come from Cambridge University and Oxford University and Lincoln's Inn, where Muhammad Ali Jinnah studied and Iqbal studied. Al-haq comes from Allah. It comes in the Quran to us. And Nabi Dawood alayhi salam is given this obligation to establish that state on the basis of al-haq. This is called a khilafah state. You don't need any big books. No, this is a khilafah state. A state which is established on the basis of al-haq. And al-haq has come from Allah. And the Khilafat movement wanted that. That's what they wanted. They wanted to remain faithful to their own indigenous political culture, their own indigenous model of a state. That's what they wanted. What belonged to their civilization, not what belonged to another civilization. Yes, the Khilafat movement made a mistake in recognizing the Ottoman Khilafah as a valid Khilafah. The Ottoman Khilafah was valid only in the shell, the outer shell. But inside, no, it was a monarchy and it was an oppressor. Yeah. When Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi saw what the Muslims had done, and saw how the Khilafat movement spread like wildfire all over India. There's never been a movement that is as powerful in India as the Khilafat movement. Nobody knows it today. They don't study this anymore. Khilafat movement was a powerful movement in India. And it provoked respect from the Hindus. Yes. It spread like wildfire. And Gandhi then realized, but I want the same thing that they want. They want the British out, and they want to preserve their culture and their civilization, their model of a state. And I want the British out, and I want to preserve for the Hindus exactly the same thing. So Gandhi said, well, if I want what they want, we should come together. So Gandhi then approached Maulana Abdul Bari. Abdul Bari was the supreme alim in the Khilafat movement. Muhammad Ali Jawhar, well, these were younger people. And said to him, I want to make an alliance with you. I have only one condition. So Maulana Abdul Bari asked, what is the condition? He said, I don't want you to kill the cow. He said, okay, we won't have killing of the cow. Problem solved. And an alliance was formed. The only thing I would have done differently, I would have said to Gandhi, but you don't have to ask me to do that. As a sensible and intelligent Muslim, if I'm living in your land and you worship the cow and you are going to be very, very displeased and hurt if I kill the cow, out of respect for your religious feelings, I will voluntarily stop killing the cow. 5 rupees worth of wisdom and intelligence, that's all. So you don't have to ask this as a condition. That's what I was told Gandhi. And so the alliance came into being. And the Hindu-Muslim alliance that took place when Gandhi supported the Khilafat movement then became the most dangerous threat to Western civilization that has ever occurred in its history. How many Pakistanis know that? How should the British respond to this very dangerous development in India? An alliance of Hindus and Muslims against the British. And when they succeed in getting us out, the British out, they want to return to their political system. Whereas our agenda is that you must become copycats of the Western civilization. What the Western world had done was to say goodbye to Nabi Dawood alayhi salam and to the model of a state that is known as the Khilafah state. And with the French Revolution, Western civilization now gave to the world exactly the opposite of the model of a state. They call it a republican state. And in a republican state, Allah is no longer sovereign. The state is now sovereign. Allah's law is no longer the supreme law. No. The National Assembly makes the supreme law. The Parliament makes the supreme law. I can go on much more on the subject. So this is the reason why the British went into India in the first place. They didn't go India just to rob us of our wealth. They went to India because India was the most important part of the whole world for them to colonize and to introduce that India into their model of a state and monetary system, etc. And then they could leave. So now the question is, what to do about the Khilafat movement? How can we get rid of this? How can we defeat this? What they did was to create a champion in Mustafa Kemal. They did it. And they had to suffer the loss. I don't know how many thousands of British soldiers had to lose their lives for Mustafa Kemal to become the hero of all heroes. But this history will never be written. Gallipoli will never be written. The Turks will never allow it. They worship Mustafa Kemal. And used Mustafa Kemal and the Young Turks, who had already taken over government from the Ottoman Sultan in what year? See? You don't know your history. You, huh? 1908. In 1908, they took over. It was called a coup d'etat. Take over the government. Sultan Abdul Hamid had remained Sultan for something like 35 years, and they took over from him and they shipped him out. And now these are godless young Turks, nationalists, ruling from Constantinople. Okay? And then the First World War took place. And during the First World War, they were able to take Mustafa Kemal and make him a god. And then the Turkish Grand National Assembly was called upon to abolish the Khilafah. They didn't want to do it. They didn't want to do it because they were afraid of the consequences within Turkey. But Mustafa Kemal, the British prevailed upon him, and he abolished the Khilafah. It was Abdul Majid, I think, who had taken over as Khalifa, and they abolished the Khilafah, and they sent Abdul Majid to Switzerland or somewhere,
Italy.
and they pulled the rug from underneath the Khilafat movement in India, because the Khilafat is gone. Good. But that was not enough. The Khilafat movement was comprised of men of great stature, great knowledge, great wisdom, and great faith in their hearts. I can't say the same thing for the All India Muslim League, but I could say it for the Khilafat movement. Yes. You needed something more to demolish the Khilafat state. And they used Muhammad Iqbal for that. That is the pain that is in my heart. Muhammad Iqbal will have to answer to Allah on Judgment Day. Had it not been for him, they would not have succeeded. They succeeded with him and they gave him the knighthood. He became Sir Muhammad Iqbal. You don't get a knighthood for serving the mission of Islam. No. You get knighted when you serve Britain. That's when you get knighted. And he was knighted. It's painful for me to say this, because I love Iqbal. I have great respect for him. It's painful for me to say this. But what Iqbal did was to demolish the Khilafah model of a state, declaring that it cannot be restored, and we must now accept the Republican model of a state. But he did more than that. He did what a scholar should never have done. He said that the Republican model of a state is an adequate substitute for the Khilafah state. The Republican model of a state is an adequate substitute for the Khilafah state. I hope everybody understands English enough.
That's dangerous.
That is the greatest betrayal of all. Had it come from anybody else, the British would not have succeeded. But when it came from Iqbal, yes, it prevailed. And so Pakistan was born on the dead body of the Khilafah movement. Had the Khilafah movement not been sacrificed, you would not have had a Pakistan. My heart is with the Khilafat movement. And I long for the day when the Khilafah state can be restored. So if your loyalty is to Pakistan, by all means you go with your Pakistan. Leave me alone. Because my loyalty is with the Khilafah state and with the Khilafat movement of Maulana Muhammad Ali Jawhar and Maulana Shaukat Ali. This is the man who should be given the title of Qaid-e-Azam. The Qaid-e-Azam. Huh? Who is the one who is struggling to restore the Khilafah. Not the one who has betrayed the Khilafah. Muhammad Ali Jinnah had less than a passing acquaintance with the Quran. He never pretended to be a scholar. Yeah, he never pretended to be a scholar. His scholar was Iqbal. He followed from the guidance of Iqbal, and Muhammad Ali Jinnah never pretended to be what he's not. No. You could put a Dari and you could put a Pagri, whatever it is, Jinnah is still Jinnah. I'm not pretending to be anything. That is the greatness of Jinnah. He never pretended to be an alim. If this is what you want, I'll get it for you. And you have said goodbye to the Khilafat movement, don't blame me for that. You have said goodbye to the Khilafat movement. And you now want a Republican state, so okay, I'll give it to you. And he went ahead and he gave you what you wanted. He gave you what you wanted after Iqbal had demolished the Khilafat movement. This is the sad story. I can't say this in Pakistan, they'll probably throw stones at me. See? They throw stones at me in Pakistan if I say this. Because you're not allowed to criticize Muhammad Ali Jinnah. And you're most certainly not allowed to criticize Iqbal. They'll bar me, they'll send me out of Pakistan. But I shared with you what I consider to be the truth. Okay, so whether Pakistan survives or does not survive is not a matter with Allah. Because with Allah, it is the Khilafah state that he asks. Ya Dawood, إِنَّا جَعَلْنَاكَ خَلِيفَةً فِي الْأَرْضِ فَاحْكُمْ بَيْنَ النَّاسِ بِالْحَقِّ وَلَا تَتَّبِعِ الْهَوَىٰ. Look at Pakistan from the day it was born to this day. Can that be the model of Islam? Yeah? Go into the market and you see a market is a den of thieves. And the poor people are being oppressed. And the rich barons driving their Pajeros and so on are living it up. Yeah? And they have mansions in London, and mansions in Dubai, and mansions in Los Angeles, and Pakistan ka matlab kya la ilaha illallah. This is nonsense. This can't be the religion of Islam. No. So when the time comes, Allah will sweep all the garbage into the garbage bin.
I have a question.
Yeah.
There's going to be alliance with the Orthodox Christians and the Muslims. But after the Great War, are the Orthodox Christians going to say because of the cross they won? Is that an authentic hadith or is that just a Spaniard? span of the weeks.
I have to prepare a lecture on that hadith. My method has been that I concentrate on the Quran, always the Quran. And when I have studied a subject from the Quran, and I'm satisfied that I have a sufficient grasp of it, only then do I turn to the hadith. And I look for a hadith which are in harmony with the Quran. And then I know I am on solid foundations. You can't challenge me, you can't shake me, not even with a bulldozer. You know what's a bulldozer? But the implication is I have to move slowly. When I find a hadith which is in conflict with the Quran, I put it aside and I stay with the Quran. The problem is that sometimes a hadith, part of the hadith will be in harmony with the Quran, and part would be in conflict with the Quran, like this one. To try to offer an analysis of such a hadith is a very ticklish thing. Good? And therefore I have to take my time. So I've never publicly lectured on this hadith, no. And I've been attacked left, right and center for I don't know how many years on this hadith, this hadith, this hadith. And all that I could do is to say to them, why don't you study methodology? Why don't you study methodology? That's all. I didn't say anything more. But it is clear to me, and I don't have the time tonight to elaborate on it. There is a part of this hadith which is clearly in harmony with the Quran. And there's a part which is in conflict with the Quran. And if you take out that part which is in conflict with the Quran, then there is no problem left. Yeah.
I have a question. You said that Gog and Magog brought the Jews back to the Holy Land. Or is it the Dajjal who's the mastermind behind it, to bring the Jews back to the Holy Land? And then you said that they're going to use dinar and dirham in Israel, but isn't it an imposter state which shows as if it's this Holy Israel?
You're asking two questions at once. You know that?
Yes, I know.
And the rules is one question at a time.
Okay, so
I'm 75 years of age.
so the second question.
Okay. This Israel is an imposter state. It has been established on the basis of lies, a mountain of lies and brutal oppression and deception. And this Israel will eventually be destroyed when Nabi Isa alayhi salam returns. Until then, however, it will remain. No matter what it does to dress it up, it will still be an imposter state. Even when it is using dinar and dirham as money, would it still not be an imposter state? Yes, that's the answer to your question. Even though it will be using dinar and dirham as money, it will still remain an imposter state. And the holy state of Israel will be restored only when Nabi Isa alayhi salam returns. Okay? What was your first question?
Whether Yajuj, Majuj...
Okay. Now then, if you'd done your homework, you'd have known that Allah speaks in the Quran about a Qarya. Which surah? وَحَرَامٌ, not the Hafiz, not the Hafiz, not the Hafiz, you. وَحَرَامٌ عَلَى قَرْيَةٍ أَهْلَكْنَاهَا أَنَّهُمْ لَا يَرْجِعُونَ. Which surah? Anbiya, are you guessing, eh? Good guess. Suratul Anbiya. And Allah says, بَعْدَ أَعُوذُ بِاللَّهِ مِنَ الشَّيْطَانِ الرَّجِيمِ وحرام على قرية أهلكناها أنهم لا يرجعون. There's a town, he does not identify the town. But he destroys the town, he expels the people of the town and places a ban. They could never return to reclaim the town as their own until حتى إذا فتحت يأجوج ومأجوج, when Gog and Magog are released. وهم من كل حدب ينسلون, and they are a people with power which cannot be destroyed other than by Allah. So they spread out in all directions, so they take control of the world. So you have a world order of Gog and Magog. وهم من كل حدب ينسلون. Then you will see Gog and Magog bringing these people back to that town. The question is, which town is it? Okay? The Quran explains itself. And I bought a book in Manchester on Jerusalem. I opened the book on a page, and there on the page was evidence that I had missed. So I was negligent. Yes, I was negligent. That Allah speaks in two places of the Quran, one in Surah Al-Baqarah, and the other in, I can't remember, about a Qarya. The traveler was passing by the town, it was lying in ruins. A Qarya, a traveler is passing by a town, it's lying in ruins, and he says, I don't think this can ever be restored, and Allah caused him to die for 100 years. أو كالذي مر على قرية. That is the first ayah. And here the word Qarya appears. And Ibn Kathir says the Qarya is Jerusalem. Yeah. And then there's another ayah where the word Qarya appears. And Ibn Kathir says the Qarya here is Jerusalem. It's in the Quran. And he's supported by other Mufassirun. Good? So if Qarya twice in the Quran refers to Jerusalem, then there is the likelihood that Qarya here refers to Jerusalem. Yeah. I came to the conclusion that the Qarya is Jerusalem, and I am on solid foundations. Oh yes, I am on solid foundations. That Allah destroyed Jerusalem and expelled the Jews and placed a ban on them. They could never return to reclaim Jerusalem as their own. Kabhi nahi, not for 2,000 years. Hatta إذا فتحت يأجوج ومأجوج وهم من كل حدب ينسلون. So when you see the Jews returning to reclaim Jerusalem as their own after 2,000 years, you know there is an explanation for it in the Quran. Allah says in the Quran that this book is Tibyanan likulli shay. It explains all things. It therefore explains the return of the Jews to the Holy Land after 2,000 years. And here is the explanation. The Qarya is Jerusalem. So it's not Dajjal, it's Gog and Magog. But now there is something that is mysterious. Mysterious. In 1917, the Bolshevik Revolution took place. And Iqbal responded to the Bolshevik Revolution with a couplet, a sher. Sher is couplet? Sher.
Yes.
खुल गए याजूज व माजूज के लश्कर तमाम. They all been released. This is bold language, eh? All have been released. खुल गए याजूज और माजूज के लश्कर तमाम. And then look at how he ends. चश्म मुस्लिम देख ले तफसीर हल्फे यंसिरून वहुम كل حدب ينسلون وهم من كل حدب ينسلون. چشم مسلم دیکھ لے تفسیر حرف ينسلون وهم من كل حدب ينسلون. Iqbal hit the nail on the head. On the head. He recognized that Gog and Magog had been released. And he said it in very bold language. The problem is, after that share came out of him, they sealed his mouth. They shut him up. And the mighty Iqbal could not speak one more word after that. That's it. Not one word until he died on Gog and Magog, after declaring what was absolute truth. Okay. That's my answer to you, and it's now 8 o'clock.
You want to do one more question?
One more question.
Go on.
How do we protect ourselves from the tests of Dajjal?
How do we protect our sons from?
No, the Dajjal. These
How
tests
do
and
we
trials.
protect our sons from
Ourselves. Ourselves.
How do we protect ourselves from?
Dajjal.
From Dajjal.
What ways can we protect ourselves? Anything we can do?
Number one, you constantly recite the dua. Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min azabil qabr wa min azabil nar wa a'udhu bika min fitnatil mahya wal mamat wa min fitnatil masihid dajjal. This is a dua that is masnoon. When last have you heard this dua being recited by anyone? When last? Huh? You heard?
Yeah.
Oh, that's good, very good. I never heard. Very rare, very rare, very rare to have it. And this dua you should be reciting in every salat. This dua. Constantly, constantly, constantly. You should be reciting this dua with tears in your heart and tears in your eyes, because for dua, unless there are tears, is not dua, you know. Bagair asu, to koi dua nahi hai. Number two, the Prophet ﷺ said, recite the first 10 ayat of Surah Al-Kahf for protection from the fitna of Dajjal. And because Dajjal sees with the left eye, he's blind in the right eye, it looks like a bulging grape. I say this is not muhkama, this is mutashabiha. This is therefore something to be subjected to ta'wil, to be interpreted. And my interpretation is that the left eye symbolizes external sight, and the blind right eye symbolizes internal blindness. But you don't have to accept my view, no. You don't have to accept my view. It is my view. And if you are internally blind, you have no nur. Nur is not sold in the supermarket. Nur is not sold in the stock market. يَهْدِ اللَّهُ لِنُورِهِ مَنْ يَشَاءُ. Allah grants nur to whomsoever Allah chooses. Okay? And if you do not have nur in your heart, فَإِنَّهَا لَا تَعْمَى الْأَبْصَارُ وَلَكِنْ تَعْمَى الْقُلُوبُ الَّتِي فِي الصُّدُورِ. It's not these eyes which are blind. What is blind is the heart which is inside the chest. So you need nur to see. And he said, if you recite Surah Al-Kahf on the day of Jum'ah, you get nur. And the nur will remain with you until the next Jum'ah. Yes. So you should be doing that. This is the beginning of the process. But then also you have to study. Dajjal is a jasad. وَلَقَدْ فَتَنَّا سُلَيْمَانَ وَأَلْقَيْنَا عَلَى كُرْسِيهِ جَسَدًا ثُمَّ أَنَابَ when Suleiman saw that Jasad on his throne in a vision, he understood that the Jasad wants to take over my state, Holy Israel. I don't want that because that Jasad is an evil being. So he made a dua. قال رب اغفر لي وهب لي ملكا لا ينبغي لأحد من بعدي. I don't want that Jasad to ever inherit my state of Israel. So I pray to you for a state which can belong to none after me. وَهَبْ لِي مُلْكًا لَا يَنْبَغِي لِأَحَدٍ مِّن بَعْدِي. This comes immediately after وَأَلْقَيْنَا عَلَى كُرْسِيهِ جَسَدٍ. They are linked together. They are linked together. وَأَلْقَيْنَا عَلَى كُرْسِيهِ جَسَدٍ وَهَبْ لِي مُلْكًا لَا يَنْبَغِي لِأَحَدٍ مِّن بَعْدِي. The two are linked together. It is because he saw that Jasad sitting on his throne, an evil being. He recognized it wants to take over, it wants to inherit my holy state of Israel. So he makes this dua that, oh Allah, grant me a state which none can inherit, none can belong to none after me. Okay? I came to the conclusion that the Jasad is Dajjal, but you don't have to accept what I say. And there's no need for any boxing gloves. If you're uncomfortable with me, leave me alone. Yes, leave me alone. There are hundreds of thousands of scholars out there. Just leave me alone if you're uncomfortable with me. No need for any boxing gloves to box matches with me. No, no. I'm not going to make the effort to convince anyone that I'm correct. No, not me. No. So I came to the conclusion, if I am wrong, and you point out and convince me I'm wrong, I pray to Allah to bless you, because I'll be a fool. Huh? I've made a mistake and someone correct me and I'm not willing to accept it. I would be a fool. But if you cannot correct me, and you're saying I'm wrong, well then leave me, go somewhere else. This is not pride, this is not arrogance, no. This is when Khidr said to Musa alayhi salam, إِنَّكَ لَن تَسْتَطِيعَ مَعِيَ صَبْرًا وَكَيْفَ تَصْبِرُ عَلَى مَا لَمْ تُحِطْ بِهِ خُبْرًا. So, you know that you are being attacked by Dajjal when you see a Jasad, an external shell with nothing inside. That is the money you're using now. Yeah. That's the money you're using now. And you've been using for 100 years now. An external shell was kagas, silk kagas, only paper, and nothing inside. And yes, there were ulama in India whose names should be written in gold, gold. There were ulama in India 100 years ago who stood up and warned the people, this is haram, stay with your dinar and dirham. Today they are forgotten, we don't even know their names. But the establishment betrayed us, yes. The established scholars of Islam betrayed us 100 years ago because they could not recognize a Jasad, an external shell with nothing inside. Now even the shell is going with the new money, which is electronic money and digital money and cryptocurrencies, and you're going to get fatwa coming tomorrow that this is also halal. Yeah. So it's time for me to fall off and go. Go, leave them, leave them, leave them, leave them, leave them, go. Let them remain with their bogus fatwas. Yeah. You have to excuse me. You have to be patient with me. Because remember, your brother Imran has been talking for 20 years now. So if I have lost patience, if I get angry sometimes, if my language is harsh sometimes, be forgive me because I'm really, really pained inside here. Okay, that is my answer to Dajjal.